At the family dinner table, my son-in-law Marcus made a cruel joke about my wife's hearing aid. Loud enough for everyone to hear, quiet enough to pretend he was whispering. When Carol's face crumpled, our daughter Emily just laughed and said, "Dad, it's just a joke. Mom needs to lighten up." I'm Robert Shun, 67 years old, and what I discovered about Marcus over the next 3 weeks made that dinner look like kindness. But before I tell you what I found and what I did about it, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. What city are you watching from? And have you ever had to stand up to a family member who everyone else defended? Because stories like this need to be shared to help others recognize the warning signs I missed for too long. That Sunday dinner started like dozens before it. Carol and I had Emily, Marcus, and our 2 granddaughters over every other week. A tradition we'd maintained for the 5 years since Emily married Marcus. Carol always cooked too much food, her love language filling every plate and Tupperware container. But something had shifted in recent months. The jokes had gotten meaner, the comments sharper, and Emily, our kind, sensitive daughter, had started defending behavior she would have called out in anyone else. We were halfway through the pot roast when it happened. Carol leaned toward Emily, asking her to repeat something about the girls' school schedule. Her hearing aid had been acting up all week, feedback whistling occasionally. She'd been putting off the audiologist appointment, embarrassed about the cost, even though I'd told her 100 times we could afford it. Marcus saw his opening. "Carol," he shouted suddenly, cupping his hands around his mouth like a megaphone. "Can you hear me now?" The table went silent. Our granddaughters, Sophie and Maya, froze with forks halfway to their mouths. Emily's eyes darted between her mother and her husband. Carol's face did something I'd seen only a handful of times in 42 years of marriage. It crumpled inward, trying to hold tears behind a dignified smile. "I heard you just find a first-time Marcus," she said quietly. He laughed, loud and performative. "Just checking. Sometimes I wonder if that thing actually works or if you just use it to ignore me." I set down my fork. The sound of metal on china seemed amplified in the silence. "Marcus, that's enough." "Oh, come on, Robert." He waved his hand dismissively. "It's just a joke. Carol knows I'm kidding." I looked at my wife. No, she didn't know he was kidding. Neither did I. "Dad, seriously." Emily's voice had an edge I didn't recognize. "Don't make this into a big thing. Marcus is just being funny. Funny would be something that makes people laugh. Emily, your mother isn't laughing. Because she's being oversensitive." Marcus reached for his wine glass. "It's 2024. People need to stop being so easily offended." I watched Carol stand up slowly, mumbling something about checking the dessert in the kitchen. She didn't look at anyone as she left. The thing about spending 40 years as an electrical engineer is you learn to see patterns. Systems behave predictably. When something's failing, there are always warning signs. I've been ignoring the warning signs about Marcus for months, maybe longer. "Emily," I said carefully, "that hurt your mother's feelings. Marcus should apologize." My daughter's face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. Mom needs to learn to take a joke. Everyone's always walking on eggshells around her hearing issue. It's exhausting. Exhausting. The word came out sharper than I intended. Your mother has been losing her hearing for 3 years. She's sensitive about it. And your husband just humiliated her at her own dinner table. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Emily stood up, yanking her napkin from her lap. "Everything with you two is so dramatic." Marcus makes one little comment, and suddenly it's World War III. Marcus leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, smirking. He'd won something, though I wasn't sure what yet. "Maybe," he said slowly, "if Carol actually dealt with her hearing problem instead of pretending that ancient hearing aid works, people wouldn't have to accommodate her all the time." I stood up. At 67, I'd learned when to walk away, when to let my blood pressure settle before responding. "I think it's time for you to leave, Marcus." "Robert," Emily started. "No, your mother is in the kitchen crying because her son-in-law mocked her disability at Sunday dinner. I'm asking you both to leave." What I didn't say, what I was already calculating in my engineer's brain, was that this wasn't an isolated incident. This was a pattern, and patterns could be traced to their source. After they left, Emily tearful and angry, Marcus still smirking, I found Carol in the kitchen. She wasn't crying anymore. She was just standing at the sink, hands braced against the counter, staring at nothing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You have nothing to apologize for. I ruined dinner. Marcus ruined dinner. Emily enabled it. You did nothing wrong." She turned around, and for the first time, I saw something I'd been missing. Shame. Deep, humiliating shame that had been building for months. "How long has he been doing this?" I asked. Carol's shoulders sagged. "A while." Little comments. Always framed as jokes. "Emily says I'm too sensitive." "You're not too sensitive. He's too cruel. And Emily is defending him instead of you." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying dinner in my head. But more than that, I kept replaying the last 6 months of Sunday dinners. The pattern was there, clear as circuit diagrams once I knew to look for it. Marcus commenting on Carol's cooking. "Is it supposed to be this salty, or can you just not taste it anymore?" Marcus talking over her in conversations, then claiming she couldn't hear properly when she asked him to repeat himself. Marcus making Carol ask 3 times for simple things, then acting annoyed when she did. And Emily defending every single instance. "He's just teasing. Mom, you're being dramatic. Everyone jokes around." At 3 a.m., I went to my office and opened my laptop. 40 years of engineering had taught me research skills. I started with a simple search: emotional abuse disguised as jokes. 3 hours later, I had 12 tabs open and a legal pad filled with notes. Gaslighting, isolation, public humiliation as control, and something else, financial abuse often accompanied emotional abuse. That last one stuck with me. I thought about Marcus and Emily's finances. She mentioned they were tight on money last month. Marcus had been pushing for them to move in with us temporarily. Emily had quit her teaching job 2 years ago at Marcus's insistence to focus on the girls. I opened my banking app and scrolled back through recent transactions. 3 months ago, I'd loaned Emily $5,000 for what she said was a car repair. 2 months before that, $3,000 for emergency dental work for Marcus. Before that, smaller amounts. $500 here, $800 there. Always emergencies. Always urgent. Always with Emily asking, never Marcus. I opened a spreadsheet and started documenting. In 18 months, we'd given Emily $23,400. For a family that was supposedly just tight on money, that was a lot of emergencies. Monday morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my old colleague James Wu, who'd left engineering to become a private investigator. "James, I need information on someone." "My son-in-law." "Robert, are you sure?" Family investigations get messy. "I'm sure. Something's wrong, and I need to know what." James was quiet for a moment. "Give me a week. I'll start with the basics. Credit report, property records, employment verification, public records. Whatever you find, I need complete documentation. Photos, records, everything. This is really bothering you." My wife cried in our kitchen because her son-in-law mocked her hearing aid, and my daughter defended him. "Yes, it's bothering me. I'll call you next Monday." The week passed slowly. Carol and I didn't hear from Emily, which was unusual. Normally, she called twice during the week. The silence felt pointed, punishing. Thursday afternoon, Carol was in the garden when my phone rang. "Emily, Dad, we need to talk about Sunday." "I agree. Marcus feels like you attacked him. He's really hurt." The audacity of that statement took my breath away. "Emily, Marcus humiliated your mother. At her own table. After she'd spent hours cooking for him." "He was joking, Dad. She's so sensitive about her hearing. It makes everyone uncomfortable. Her disability makes people uncomfortable. So she should just accept mockery?" "It's not mockery. It's teasing. There's a difference." I took a breath. "When you were 8 years old, a boy at school made fun of your glasses. You came home crying. Do you remember what I told you?" Silence. "I told you that people who mock others for things they can't control are bullies, and that you deserved better than that. Carol deserves better than that, Emily. From Marcus and from you. This is different." "Ow!" "Because Marcus is family. Because we have to live together and get along. Because making everything into a huge deal just causes problems. Defending your mother shouldn't cause problems." Emily's voice got tight. "You know what, Dad? Maybe you and Mom should think about whether you want to keep seeing the girls if you're going to be this hostile to Marcus. The threat landed like a punch, using my granddaughters as leverage. Emily, I have to go. Maybe when you're ready to apologize to Marcus, we can talk. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, understanding fully for the first time what Carol had been dealing with. The impossible choice Emily was presenting: enable Marcus's cruelty or lose access to our granddaughters. Monday morning, James called. Robert, you need to sit down for this. I was already sitting. What did you find? Your son-in-law is not who he says he is. Not even close. For the next 30 minutes, James walked me through Marcus's real life. The one Emily apparently didn't know about. Or maybe did and couldn't face. Marcus claimed to work in technology sales. According to his LinkedIn profile, he was a senior account executive at a startup called Nexus Solutions. Sounded impressive. Nexus Solutions didn't exist. The company was a shell. No employees, no office, no actual business. Marcus's real income came from unemployment benefits he'd been fraudulently collecting for 3 years. He claimed he'd been laid off from 3 different companies. All the layoffs were fabricated. He'd never worked at any of those companies. Total fraudulent claims. $87,000. There's more, James said. He's got a gambling problem. Online poker, sports betting. I found accounts at 6 different offshore gambling sites. Based on the transaction patterns, he's losing about $3,000 a month. My stomach turned. 3,000? At least. Could be more. Those offshore sites don't report everything. How is he paying for this? That's the interesting part. He's not. He's constantly in debt to the gambling sites. But here's what really concerns me, Robert. 2 months ago, he opened 3 credit cards in Emily's name. She probably doesn't know. I felt cold. Are you sure? Credit report doesn't lie. 3 cards, all maxed out. $43,000 in debt. In her name, not his. He's stealing from his own wife. And there's one more thing. The $23,000 you've given Emily over the past 18 months? I tracked where that money went. Not car repairs. Not dental work. It went straight to Marcus's gambling accounts and debt payments. I closed my eyes. Every emergency, every crisis, every tearful call from Emily asking for help. All of it had been funding Marcus's lies. What else? I asked because I could tell James wasn't finished. He's been messaging other women on dating apps. At least 4 different women in the past 6 months. Telling them he's divorced, no kids, looking for something serious. While married to my daughter. While married to your daughter and living off her family's money. I thought about Carol in the kitchen, crying over a cruel joke. About Emily threatening to keep our granddaughters away. About Sophie and Maya growing up watching their father mistreat their grandmother while their mother defended it. I need copies of everything, James. Every document, every screenshot, every piece of evidence. Already prepared. I'll email you encrypted files with the password. But Robert, what are you planning to do with this? What any father would do. Protect my daughter, even if she doesn't want to be protected. The files arrived Tuesday morning. I spent hours reading through everything. Bank statements, credit reports, unemployment claim documents, screenshots of dating profiles, copies of fraudulent job applications. Marcus had built an entire fake life. And he'd done it so skillfully that Emily, my smart, educated daughter, had believed all of it. I printed everything. 3 copies. 1 for me, 1 for my attorney, 1 for Emily when she was ready to see it. Wednesday afternoon, I called Tom Morrison, the attorney who'd handled our estate planning. Tom, I need your advice on something delicate. Go ahead. I explained the situation. The emotional abuse, the financial fraud, the identity theft, the unemployment fraud, the gambling, the dating profiles. Tom was quiet for a long moment. Robert, this is serious. Identity theft is a felony. Unemployment fraud is a federal crime. If Emily presses charges, Marcus could go to prison for years. If Emily presses charges, that's the problem. She's defending him. Then you need to be very careful about how you approach this. If you go to her with accusations, she'll circle the wagons around Marcus. You need leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind that makes Marcus's crimes undeniable. The kind that protects Emily legally and financially before Marcus realizes what's happening. The kind that gives Emily no choice but to see the truth. I thought about that. What do you suggest? First, we need to separate Emily's finances from Marcus's. She needs to protect her credit, her assets, and her legal liability before this all comes out. Second, we need Emily to see Marcus for who he is in a way she can't deny or rationalize. And third, we need documentation that protects you and Carol if Marcus retaliates. How do we do all that? Tom leaned back in his chair. We expose him, publicly, in a way that's so undeniable, so documented, that Emily can't explain it away as a misunderstanding. You're talking about setting a trap. I'm talking about creating a situation where Marcus exposes himself, where his lies collapse under their own weight, and where Emily has witnesses she trusts who can't be dismissed. I thought about Sunday dinner, about Carol crying in the kitchen, about Emily threatening to keep my granddaughters away. Tell me exactly what I need to do. Over the next hour, Tom and I built a plan. It wasn't revenge. It was documentation, exposure, protection, and it started with another Sunday dinner. Thursday morning, I called Emily. Honey, your mother wants to apologize. Emily's voice was cautious. For what? For being too sensitive on Sunday. She realizes she overreacted to Marcus's joke. She'd like you all to come back to dinner this Sunday. She wants to clear the air. The lie tasted bitter, but it was necessary. Carol wasn't sorry, but Emily needed to believe we were backing down, that Marcus had won. Really, Emily's relief was audible. Mom said that. She did. She doesn't want this to come between us and the girls. So, Sunday at 6? We'll keep it light, no drama. Let me check with Marcus. He's still pretty upset. Tell him Carol wants to apologize to him personally. She feels terrible about how things went. After I hung up, Carol stood in the doorway of my office. I'm not apologizing to that man, Robert. I know, but he needs to think you are. What? I opened my laptop and showed her James's report. She read in silence, her face going pale. Oh, Emily. Our poor Emily. She doesn't see it yet, but she will. Sunday night, she will. Carol looked at me. What are you planning? Something Marcus won't see coming. Something that will expose him completely. But I need your help. Anything. I need you to wear your old hearing aid, the one that doesn't work anymore. And I need you to pretend you can't hear certain things. Can you do that? She understood immediately. You're going to make him show everyone who he really is. Not me. He's going to do it himself. Friday morning, I made 3 more calls. The first was to Dr. Sarah Martinez, the audiologist who'd been treating Carol for 3 years. I explained what had happened at dinner and what I needed. Dr. Martinez, Marcus has been making jokes about Carol's hearing loss for months. He mocked her hearing aid in front of our family. I need documentation of her actual condition, the medical necessity of the device, and a professional opinion on whether his behavior constitutes harassment of someone with a disability. Dr. Martinez was quiet. Then, Mr. Chun, what Marcus is doing isn't just cruel. In a workplace, it would be illegal under the ADA. I'll prepare a detailed report. The second call was to my other daughter, Rachel. She lived in Portland, and we didn't see her as often. But Rachel and Emily had always been close. Ratch, I need you to come to dinner Sunday. Don't tell Emily I called. Dad, what's going on? I explained everything. The dinner, Marcus's pattern of behavior, the financial fraud, all of it. Rachel was furious. That son of a bitch. Emily has no idea. None. And she won't believe me if I just tell her. She needs to see it herself. What do you need me to do? Come to dinner. Bring your phone. Record everything. And when the moment comes, back me up. Done. The third call was to the Washington State Department of Employment Security Fraud Hotline. I'd like to report unemployment fraud. Sunday arrived cold and clear. Carol and I prepared dinner together in careful silence. She put in her old hearing aid, the one that had stopped working 6 months ago. It sat in her ear, useless a prop. At 5:45, Rachel arrived. She hugged Carol hard. Mom, are you okay? I will be. After tonight, I will be. At 6 o'clock, Emily, Marcus, and the girls arrived. Emily looked cautiously optimistic. Marcus looked smug, like a man who'd want to fight. Sophie and Maya ran to hug us. I held them tight, thinking about what kind of example Marcus was setting, what they were learning about how to treat people. We sat down to dinner. I'd made sure Marcus was positioned at the far end of the table from Carol. Distance, James had advised. Make him work to be heard. Make him get loud. For the first 20 minutes, everything was normal. Pleasant. Carol asked the girls about school. Rachel caught us up on her job. Emily seemed to relax. Then Carol, right on cue, asked Emily to repeat something. Sorry, honey, what was that? Emily repeated herself, louder. Marcus muttered something I didn't catch. But Rachel, sitting next to him with her phone recording in her lap, heard it. What was that, Marcus? Rachel asked innocently. Nothing. Just wondering if that thing actually works. He gestured at Carol's hearing aid. Carol's face fell, perfectly performed. I'm sorry. Am I having trouble hearing again? Don't worry about it, Mom, Emily said quickly, shooting Marcus a warning look. But Marcus couldn't help himself. He never could. Bullies rarely can when they think they've won. Carol, he said loudly, doing the megaphone hands again. Can you hear me? The girls looked uncomfortable. Rachel's phone kept recording. I stood up. Marcus, that's the second time you've done that. Oh, here we go. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Another lecture from Robert about respecting Carol's feelings. Actually, this is a lecture about respecting people with disabilities. Disabilities? Marcus laughed. It's a hearing aid, not a wheelchair. Hearing loss is classified as a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Mocking someone's disability is called harassment. In a workplace, you'd be fired. At a family dinner, it's just cruelty. Emily stood up. Dad, you promised no drama. I promised your mother could apologize. She has nothing to apologize for. Marcus does. For what? Making a joke. For months of systematic mockery of your mother's medical condition. For humiliating her repeatedly. For making her feel ashamed of something she can't control. Marcus stood up now, too. You know what, Robert? I'm sick of this. Carol plays the victim every time someone doesn't tiptoe around her. She's not disabled. She's just old and can't accept it. The words hung in the air. Rachel spoke quietly. Say that again, Marcus. What? Say that again. The part about Mom playing the victim. Say it one more time, so I can make sure my recording picks it up. Marcus went pale. You're recording? Rachel held up her phone. Every word, including the part where you called mocking someone's hearing loss just a joke, and the part where you said she's playing the victim, and the part where you said she's just old. Emily looked between her sister and her husband. Rachel, why are you recording? Because Dad asked me to. Because someone needs to document what Marcus really says when he thinks the family will back him up. I reached behind me and picked up a manila folder I'd left on the credenza. Emily, there's something else you need to see. Not this again. Marcus moved toward the door. Come on, Emily. We're leaving. Sit down, Marcus. My voice was harder than I'd ever used with him. You're not leaving until Emily sees what kind of man she married. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. James's investigative report. Emily, Marcus doesn't work for Nexus Solutions. Nexus Solutions doesn't exist. It's a shell company. Marcus hasn't had a job in 3 years. Emily laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. Marcus goes to work every day. Where? What's the address? She opened her mouth. Closed it. He worked from home mostly. Sales calls. Call his office right now. The number on his business card. Let's see who answers. Marcus lunged for the folder. You have no right. I have every right to protect my daughter from fraud. I pulled out the second document. This is Marcus's unemployment claim history. 3 years of fraudulent claims. $87,000 in illegally obtained benefits. Emily stared at the paper. This can't be real. It's from the state database. I've already reported it to the fraud hotline. They're investigating. I pulled out the third document. This is your credit report, Emily. 3 credit cards you didn't know about. $43,000 in debt. All opened by Marcus in your name 2 months ago. Emily's hand shook as she took the paper. Marcus. He said nothing. The $23,000 we've given you over the past year, I continued. We thought it was for emergencies. Car repairs. Diddle work. It wasn't. It went to Marcus's gambling accounts and debt payments. I pulled out printouts of the gambling site transactions. He's losing about $3,000 a month on online poker. Using your family's money. Money your mother and I gave you to help with actual emergencies. Emily sat down slowly, staring at the documents. There's more. I pulled out the dating profile screenshots. 4 different dating apps. For different women he's been messaging, telling them he's divorced, no kids, looking for something serious. Rachel moved next to Emily, putting her arm around her sister. I'm so sorry. Emily looked up at Marcus. Her face was pale, shocked, but not entirely surprised. That's what broke my heart. Some part of her had known. Is any of this true? She whispered. Marcus's face cycled through expressions. Anger, panic, calculation. Finally, he settled on offense. This is insane. Your father hired some investigator to dig up lies about me because he doesn't like me. Because I don't kiss his ass like some perfect son-in-law. These are state records, Marcus. Bank statements. Credit reports. Screenshots. This isn't made up. You're the one who's emotionally abusing this family, Marcus shouted, pointing at me. You and Carol, guilting Emily, manipulating her, controlling her with money. The money we gave her that you stole. I kept my voice level. The money you gambled away while lying about your job. Sophie started crying. Maya looked terrified. Carol stood up and gently took both girls by the hands. Come on, sweethearts. Let's go make cookies in the kitchen. She led them away, and I was grateful. They didn't need to see the rest of this. Emily was reading through the documents now, one after another. Her hands shook. Tears ran down her face. The dental work, she said quietly. There was no dental work. No. The car repair. No. When you said you needed money for the girls' school supplies. Marcus said nothing. Emily looked up at him. Have you been lying to me for 3 years? Emily, I can explain. Have you been lying to me for 3 years? The volume shocked everyone. Emily never yelled. I was trying to protect you, Marcus started. By stealing my identity? By opening credit cards in my name? By gambling away my parents' money? By messaging other women? Her voice rose with each question. I have a problem. I need help. If I just what? Enabled it? Pretended it wasn't happening? Like I've been pretending you're not cruel to my mother. Emily stood up. Like I've been pretending your jokes are actually funny? Like I've been pretending you're a good husband when you've been lying about everything. Don't do this. Marcus's voice got hard. You don't want to do this. Is that a threat? Rachel stood up. Did you just threaten my sister? I'm saying she should think carefully. About the girls. About what's best for them. What's best for them. Emily's laugh was bitter. You mean watching their father mock their grandmother? Watching their mother defend it? Learning that it's okay to humiliate people as long as you call it a joke. I've never been more proud of my daughter. Marcus tried one more time. Emily, if you kick me out, you'll have nothing. No income. No support, no. I'll have my family, Emily interrupted. The family you've been stealing from. The family you've been manipulating me into defending you against. The family that loves me enough to expose you even when they knew I'd be angry at them for it. She looked at me, fresh tears falling. Dad, I'm so sorry. About Sunday. About everything. About choosing him over Mom. Over you. You don't need to apologize. You were being manipulated by someone who's very good at it. Emily nodded, then turned to Marcus. Get out. Emily, get out. Now, before I call the police and tell them about the identity theft. Marcus looked around the room. At Emily, at Rachel, at me. He was calculating, trying to find an angle. There wasn't one. He grabbed his coat and walked toward the door. Before he left, he turned back. You're all going to regret this. Emily, when you realize what you're giving up, don't come crying to me. I'm giving up nothing but lies. Emily's voice was steady now. Get out of my parents' house. He left. The door slammed. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Emily collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Rachel and I sat on either side of her. Carol came back from the kitchen, having sent the girls to play upstairs. I'm so stupid, Emily cried. How did I not see it? You're not stupid, Carol said firmly. You were being systematically manipulated by someone who's done this before. Probably to other women. This isn't your fault. I defended him. To you, Dad. I told you Mom was being too sensitive. I said you were attacking him. I threatened to keep the girls away from you. That's what abusers do, I said quietly. They isolate their victims. They make you defend them. They make you choose between them and the people who actually love you. You chose wrong for a while because you didn't have all the information. Now you do. Emily looked at the documents spread across the table. What do I do now? Now, I said, we protect you. Legally, financially, and emotionally. Tom Morrison is expecting your call tomorrow morning. He'll help you file for divorce, deal with the identity theft, and separate your finances from Marcus's. I don't have money for a lawyer. You're not paying. I am. This is what family does. Rachel squeezed Emily's hand. And I'm staying for 2 weeks. I already told my boss. You're not doing this alone. But the girls will be fine, Carol said. Better than fine. They'll learn what it looks like when someone stands up to a bully, when someone chooses truth over comfort, when someone protects the people they love, even when it's hard. Emily cried for another hour. We all sat with her, not talking much, just being there. Around 9 p.m., Sophie and Maya came downstairs. Is Dad coming back? Sophie asked quietly. Emily took a shaky breath. Not tonight, sweetheart. Dad, and I need to talk about some grown-up things. You're going to stay here with Grandma and Grandpa for a few days, okay? Because he was mean to Grandma, out of the mouths of children. Sophie had seen it all along. Yes, because he was mean to Grandma, and because he made some choices that weren't okay. Good, Maya said fiercely. I didn't like when he yelled at her. Emily pulled both girls close. I didn't like it either. I should have said something sooner. I'm sorry I didn't. That night, after Emily and the girls were in bed, Carol and I sat in our living room. Do you think he'll come back? She asked. Not if he's smart. But men like Marcus aren't usually smart about knowing when they're beaten. What about the unemployment fraud report? Investigated. If they find what James found, he'll be charged. Federal crime. Prison time possible. And the identity theft? That's up to Emily. She can press charges. She should press charges. But it's her choice. Carol was quiet for a moment. Robert, thank you for doing this. For protecting her even when she didn't want to be protected. I would do anything for our daughters. You know that. I do. But this was different. You had to hurt her to save her. Short-term pain for long-term safety. It was the right thing to do. Carol leaned against me. What he said about me, about being old and playing the victim, was him showing everyone who he really is. And everyone saw it. Emily saw it. Rachel recorded it. Dr. Martinez documented it. Marcus is done. Good. Monday morning, Emily met with Tom Morrison. By Wednesday, she'd filed for divorce, contested the fraudulent credit cards, frozen all joint accounts, and filed a police report about the identity theft. Thursday, the unemployment fraud investigation was officially opened. Marcus was notified. Friday, he called Emily. Rachel answered on speakerphone, Emily's new boundary. You can't do this to me, Marcus said. His voice was panicked now, the control gone. I'll lose everything. You stole everything, Emily said calmly. From me, from my parents, from the state. You're losing what was never yours to begin with. I have a gambling addiction. I need help, not punishment. You could get help in whatever comes next. But I'm done being the person you steal from to fund your addiction. What about the girls? They need their father. They need a father who doesn't mock their grandmother, who doesn't lie about his job, who doesn't steal from their mother. Right now, that's not you. Maybe someday it will be. But not today. Emily, please. Goodbye, Marcus. She hung up. Her hands shook, but her voice had been steady. How do you feel? Rachel asked. Terrified, sad, angry, relieved. Emily looked at her sister. Is it okay to feel all of those at once? It's normal to feel all of those at once. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Marcus didn't contest it. He couldn't afford a lawyer. And more importantly, he couldn't afford for everything to come out in court. The unemployment fraud case resulted in charges. Marcus pleaded guilty in exchange for repayment plan and probation instead of prison time. He'd be paying back $87,000 plus penalties for years. The identity theft charges were dropped after Marcus agreed to a repayment plan for Emily's credit card debt. She'd never see that money, but legally, she was protected from collectors. The dating profiles were deleted. The gambling accounts closed, supposedly. Emily and the girls moved into a townhouse near us. She went back to teaching 3rd grade at the girls' school. Sophie and Maya adjusted better than expected. Children are resilient when they're given stability and truth. Sunday dinners resumed. Smaller now, quieter. Emily, the girls, Rachel when she could fly in. Just family. One Sunday, about 4 months after everything exploded, Sophie asked a question. Grandma, does your hearing aid work better now? Carol smiled. Much better, sweetheart. Why? Because you don't miss stuff anymore. Like when Dad was here. Emily's face tightened, but she didn't deflect. Grandma's hearing aid always worked, Sophie. Your dad was being mean when he pretended it didn't. I know, Sophie said matter-of-factly. We knew he was being mean. We just didn't know we could say so. Out of the mouths of children. That night, after everyone left, Carol and I cleaned up together. Do you think Emily's okay? She asked. I think she's getting there. Healing takes time. Do you think Marcus will try to come back? He's tried. She's blocked him every time. She's stronger than she thinks. Carol dried a plate carefully. Robert, can I ask you something? Anything. When you're planning all of this, the investigation, the dinner, the exposure, were you angry? I thought about that. Yes. Furious. Not just about what he did to you, but what he was doing to Emily. Turning our daughter into someone who defended cruelty. Someone who threatened to keep our granddaughters away because we asked for basic respect. But you didn't act angry. No, because anger makes mistakes. Anger is satisfying but ineffective. I needed to be precise, methodical. I needed evidence, not emotion. You used your engineering brain. I used everything I learned in 40 years of solving problems. Identify the issue, gather data, test hypotheses, document findings, present solutions. Carol smiled. You're a good man, Robert Shun. I'm a father who protected his family. That's all. 6 months after that Sunday dinner that started everything, I got a call from James Wu. Robert, you're not going to believe this. What? Marcus is at it again. New city, new woman, same con. But this time, she called the police first. How did you find out? She contacted me. Found my report on him through court records. Wanted to know if I'd testify if it went to trial. Will you? Already agreed to. She's 64, widowed, vulnerable. He almost got her for $50,000 before she got suspicious and did a background check. Your case made her trust her instincts. I thought about that. One exposure had potentially saved another woman. Patterns, once documented, could protect others. Good, I said. Let me know if you need anything for the trial. Emily found out about Marcus's new victim through the prosecutor's office. They wanted her to testify about his pattern of behavior. She called me, her voice tight. Dad, they want me to go to Seattle and testify. Tell a courtroom what he did to me. I don't know if I can do that. You don't have to. But if you do, you'd be protecting other women from the same thing. Is that why you exposed him? Not just to protect me, but to protect others. Both. But primarily you. You're my daughter. You'll always come first. But other women will be safer because of what we did. Yes. Emily was quiet. Then, I'll testify. Rachel will come with me. And Mom, if she's willing, your mother would walk through fire for you. I think she can handle a courtroom. 2 weeks later, Emily, Carol, Rachel, and I drove to Seattle. Emily testified for 3 hours. She was calm, clear, detailed. The jury watched her carefully, particularly when she described how Marcus had manipulated her into defending his abuse of Carol. Carol testified about the hearing aid mockery, her medical condition, and Marcus's systematic cruelty disguised as jokes. Dr. Martinez's report was entered into evidence. I testified about the financial fraud, the investigation, and Emily's shock when confronted with the truth. The new victim, a widow named Patricia Chun, no relation, testified about Marcus's approach. The fake job, the sob stories, the manipulation. How he'd asked for her bank passwords to help manage her finances. How he tried to get added to her will. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Fraud, elder abuse, identity theft attempt, attempted grand larceny. The judge sentenced Marcus to 4 years in prison. No early parole. Restitution to all victims. In the courtroom, Emily cried. Not from sadness. From relief. Outside, Patricia Chun approached us. Thank you, she said to Emily, for being brave enough to testify, for stopping him before he got to me like he got to you. I'm just glad you trusted your instincts, Emily replied. I didn't trust mine for too long. We all miss things when we're being manipulated. That's what they count on. Carol hugged Patricia, two women who'd been targeted by the same predator, now protecting each other. On the drive home, Emily was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. Dad, I never apologized properly for what I said that first Sunday. About you attacking Marcus. About keeping the girls away. About Mom being too sensitive. You were being manipulated, Emily. You don't need to apologize for that. Yes, I do. Because even under manipulation, I made choices. I chose to defend him instead of Mom. I chose to threaten you instead of questioning him. Those were my choices, and they were wrong. We all make wrong choices sometimes. But you didn't. When Marcus was humiliating Mom, you stood up immediately. You didn't waffle. You didn't try to keep the peace. You protected her. That's what I should have done. You're doing it now. You testified against him. You're rebuilding your life. You're teaching the girls what strength looks like. That's what matters. From the back seat, Carol spoke quietly. Emily, for what it's worth, I forgave you before you even asked. I knew you were stuck in an impossible situation. I just wish I'd spoken up sooner, been less sensitive about. Ma, no. Emily turned around. You weren't too sensitive. You were being abused. There's a difference. And I'm so sorry I didn't see it. We both see it now. That's what matters. A year after that first terrible Sunday dinner, we established a new tradition. Sunday dinners were still at our house, but now Emily often cooked. Sophie and Maya helped, learning their mother's recipes and their grandmother's stories. Marcus's name wasn't mentioned. He existed as a cautionary tale, a lesson learned, but not as an ongoing presence. Sophie, now 11, asked me once, Grandpa, why did you investigate Dad instead of just telling Mom what you suspected? Smart kid. Because sometimes people need evidence, not suspicions. Your mom needed to see the truth in a way she couldn't deny or excuse. If I just told her I thought your dad was lying, she might not have believed me. Because he was good at lying. Yes. Are all grown-ups good at lying? No. But some people practice lying until they're very good at it. That's why it's important to pay attention to actions, not just words. Your dad said he loved your mom, but his actions showed he loved himself more. Sophie thought about that. Your actions showed you loved Mom more than keeping the peace. Exactly. I want to be like that. Someone who stands up for people even when it's hard. Then you're already halfway there, sweetheart. Looking back now, 2 years after that Sunday dinner that changed everything, I'm often asked if I regret how I handled it. If I regret investigating my son-in-law, exposing him publicly, causing my daughter pain. The answer is no. Could I have handled it differently? Probably. Could I have confronted Marcus privately first, given him a chance to confess, work something out quietly? Maybe. But here's what I know. Predators rely on silence. They rely on family loyalty being stronger than truth. They rely on victims being too ashamed to speak up, too scared to rock the boat, too uncertain to trust their instincts. Marcus had been counting on all of that. He'd been counting on Carol being too embarrassed about her hearing loss to object to his mockery. He'd been counting on me, wanting to keep family peace more than I wanted justice. He'd been counting on Emily's love, blinding her to his lies. He counted wrong. The best lesson I can share from all of this, from my grandpa's stories, as my granddaughters call them, is this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Marcus showed us who he was every Sunday dinner. He was cruel disguised as funny, abusive disguised as teasing, controlling disguised as helpful. We just didn't want to see it until we had no choice. God gives us instincts for a reason. That uncomfortable feeling when someone's joke doesn't feel funny, that's God telling you something's wrong. Trust it. That gnawing worry that something's off even when you can't prove it, that's wisdom. Listen to it. That voice that says, but family should stick together when you're witnessing abuse, that's manipulation, not love. Reject it. Real family doesn't require you to accept cruelty. Real family doesn't demand you enable abuse. Real family doesn't threaten you with isolation when you ask for basic respect. Real family, the kind worth protecting, stands up for each other even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Carol's hearing aid still works perfectly. She wears it without shame now, after years of Marcus making her feel self-conscious about it. Emily sees it as a symbol now, not of disability, but of survival, of refusing to be silent. Emily rebuilt her life from the ground up. She's dating again, cautiously. She vets people carefully now, watches for red flags, trusts her instincts. The girls are thriving, learning what healthy relationships look like. And me? I'm still the quiet engineer who solves problems methodically. But I'm also the grandfather who taught Sophie and Maya that standing up to bullies isn't optional, that protecting people you love is always worth the cost. If you're watching this and you've ever been told you're too sensitive when someone hurt you, let me tell you something, you're not too sensitive. They're too cruel. If you've ever been told it was just a joke when someone mocks something you can't control, that's not a joke. That's bullying. If you've ever been told to keep the peace while someone treats you badly, that's not peace. That's surrender. And if you've ever had to choose between family harmony and personal dignity, choose dignity every time. The people who truly love you will understand. The people who don't weren't worth keeping anyway. Drop a comment below if this story resonated with you. Have you ever had to stand up to someone the whole family defended? Have you ever been told you were overreacting when you called out cruelty? Share this story. Subscribe to this channel. Because true stories like this, Grandpa's stories about standing up to bullies, protecting the vulnerable, and choosing truth over comfort, need to be told. Not for revenge, not for drama, but because somewhere, someone is sitting at a Sunday dinner table, watching someone they love be humiliated and wondering if they're overreacting. They're not. And maybe this story will give them the courage to act before it's too late. Remember, quiet strength isn't about keeping peace. It's about knowing when to break the silence. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to accept the unacceptable, even when it's family, especially when it's family.